Okay, so today we're going to talk about productivity and creativity. I hate the word productivity, but there's some little kernels of wisdom, if you will, from the ancients, the ancestors, and all of these different traditions that I would like to share with you around it. But first, hi, my name is Amanda Jane. I am a consultant for entrepreneurs, creatives, the change makers, the dreamers who are trying to affect positive change in this world without burning the fuck out. So when we're talking about productivity and creativity, first of all, creativity is not productive in the 9 to 5 sense. I talked a little bit earlier this week about Paul Graham's Makers versus Managers schedule. And if you are being scheduled in meetings back to back throughout the week, you have very little time to actually create. You need room, you need space for creativity to be able to get into your whole creative process and your creative flow, where it's not going to be disrupted, in an hour or in 30 minutes. So that is something to consider. And this is where the wisdom comes in, because the other thing that I spoke about earlier this week and that I think is really important is there are times in our life, and there are times, whether that's in a day, in a season, or over a period of years, where we are having a hard time creating, right? There's a blockage, there's stress, there's something else going on that's demanding our attention or our energy. And this is where I think it's really helpful. I like to use an agriculture metaphor. So a lot of my ancestors were farmers in different parts of the world. And, unfortunately, I have no filial ties to any particular land, like one piece of land, but I have learned how to develop relationships with it thanks to a lot of this heritage and other traditions that I've learned from. So part of what that is understanding that there are fallow periods and understanding that there are seasons. There are if you're using traditional farming methods, then you only have so many years. You have to rotate your crops, right? You have to prepare for winter. If you're using the more indigenous, food forest methodology, which is where you curate rather than fully cultivate, right? You don't start from scratch. You don't create a huge field and have these different sort of batch crops or massive crops. You use nature, you sort of curate what's already existing in nature to produce more of what's going to be nourishing and helpful and sustaining for you. And so it's a work smarter, not harder kind of approach. And when applying this to your life and your business and the things that you're doing, it is really taking into consideration what those patterns are. What are the seasons of your business? What are the seasons of your life that will help you plan and prepare? So we all have as professionals or and in your personal life, there are times of the year when, I am more likely to be inspired, or I'm going to be more active, right? Whether that's spring or fall, I know what that energy feels like or what that season feels like for me, the kinds of things I like to do and how that affects me, my body, my health, all of these different things. In your business, there might be periods or quarters where you have a lot of money coming in, contracts coming in, things like that. And then periods where it's more slow, right? Or everybody's on break, or there's all of these different variables that could be at play. So you plan for that. And when you're trying to be creative, or when you're trying, like, you think about those seasons. And for me, I think it's really helpful to think about the seasons, both personal, like both in your personal life and in your business. And so how you structure your day and how you structure what you focus on in a given quarter or in a given season, because you can break it down, you know, depending on where you live in the world. You might not have 4 seasons, or you might have 6 seasons, or you might have 2 seasons, or you might have 1 season, right? Like, whatever it is, there's thinking about, okay, how do these different phases and cycles influence my schedule and my time? And then how can I be more strategic around creating that space, or taking advantage of space when it arises? So that when you hit those fallow periods, or when winter comes, or when these moments or periods where you're not able to produce, or you're not inspired to produce something, you can actually leverage that time for rest, or for replenishment, or reflection, or just taking a break. Like, maybe that's when you take your vacation, or maybe that's when you spend more time with family or friends, or in a different aspect or area of your life. And so this is going to be actually a pretty short video this week, because that's really all I wanted to talk about. Because I think when we think about creativity and productivity, we are so often like entrenched in the way the system works, whether that's, you know, if you're working a traditional 9-to-5 schedule and you're expected to be in an office, or you're expected to be on site that whole time, that can be hard. Like, I'm very much not for a 9-to-5 schedule, because if you work efficiently enough, you know, or depending on your job, you have these huge gaps of time where, like, there's nothing you can do, or there's nothing that you can create, or there's nothing, you know, there's all this other stuff that's happening if you're working really efficiently, and that's just wasted time. I won't get it, like, you're compensated for your knowledge and your expertise, not for your time. If you're a knowledge worker, that is what you are compensated by. I don't care who wants to come at me for that, but that's not what you're actually getting paid. You're not actually getting paid an hourly wage if you're a salaried knowledge worker. And by knowledge worker, it means somebody where you could not do your job if you didn't have a particular level of training, experience, or expertise, or study in a particular area. So what you hold in your brain is the resource, is the labor. How you use what you have in your brain is the labor. So when you think about that's how you need to figure out your value, and that's what you're getting paid for. And how you're using that efficiently and effectively is entirely dependent on how things are scheduled, how things are structured, and how you personally operate, right, as well. So if you're not, if you're neurodivergent, then your brain's going to operate differently, and you're going to function in a different way. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just how you produce. It's how you utilize and leverage the skills and the experience and the knowledge that you have. So, I feel like that was a weird tangent, but anyway, the point is, you can have control and agency over your schedule. And, especially if you're the person who gets to make your own schedule, or if you work in a place where you can have more flexibility in your work schedule, which is more and more the trend. And that's more and more what I would advocate for in traditional work settings as well, because 9-to-5 was meant to protect the time for assembly line labor. And knowledge work doesn't necessarily work on an assembly line kind of system. I mean, there's ways that it kind of can, but anyway, I don't know that that's the most efficient. So anyway, this is my own personality coming out. You can tell that I'm very much about like working smarter, not harder, and how do you become more efficient at what you do so that you have more time and freedom and room to do the things that bring you joy, to light you up, to create, not just because it's what brings the money in to live off of, but because it's something you enjoy doing, or to contribute to your community and enact the changes or help implement the changes. You have more time to focus on the things that are important to you, and important to your community. So anyway, that is all that I have for you today. I have another thing in the works. I have a group offering in the works, and I'm gonna launch a pre-registration soon. So stick around for that. If you want to find out about it, you can sign up for my newsletter. You can check my website, whatever. There's so many different ways that you can connect with me, or just reach out and connect, because, I'm a human being and I love talking to people and engaging with people. So, don't be a stranger, and welcome. See you next time.